Hey guys, Brad Carter here with Altitude Outdoors. Today let's talk about the Wyoming Big Game Draw. So we're facing another deadline here at the end of May for resident elk, deer, and antelope, and non-resident deer and antelope in Wyoming. And today I wanted to go over sort of how that draw works and a little bit about the intricacies of Wyoming's tag allocation, how to choose the units that you want to hunt, and some information like that. So I made a video in January that talked about the non-resident elk draw. A lot of that information is going to carry over into this. So we're going to talk about some stuff that's probably pretty familiar to you, and then a few sort of different things pertaining to each species, like the general hunts for deer. So if you'll remember, in Wyoming, guys, there's two draws for non-residents. There's what we call the regular draw and the special draw. So you'll pay more to be in the special draw. The tags that you draw in the regular and special, they're the same. So the way that works is 60% of the tags go in the regular draw, 40% go into the special draw. And it's kind of assumed that if you're willing to pay more money, then your odds are better to draw. Now that doesn't happen 100% of the time. It happens most of the time. But you'll want to watch that as you're putting in. If you do have a lot of people that think special is going to work better for them, and more people put in for it, it's possible that your odds are actually worse. So I'll put out another video today that's kind of on the computer side, where we'll jump into the Game and Fish website and we'll look at drawing odds and kind of how to navigate that, and then how to actually jump in and apply for your tags online. So hopefully this helps you learn a little bit more about how to apply in Wyoming. Residents do not have a regular and special draw. Everything's just kind of set. So we'll talk about elk just briefly. You know, elk has the general tag that you can hunt all the general units in the state that's over the counter for residents, and then there's limited quota areas throughout the state that you can apply for specifically and put in for. All of the information as far as like the license type, different limitations and restrictions like that, it's all going to be the same essentially for what we see with deer and antelope too, so I'm not really going to touch on that. Archery tags, like we talked about before, in most areas in Wyoming, unless it's a type 9, type 9 is an archery only, and in a type 9 you don't have to buy an archery stamp. Everywhere else you buy an archery stamp, and you can typically hunt an archery season before that rifle season happens. So for example, general elk tags in Wyoming, you buy an archery stamp or an archery validation. It allows you to hunt from September 1st to September 30th with archery tackle, and then you can hunt the later rifle hunts. And you can do that for deer and antelope, and the dates vary a little bit on each of those species. Antelope's typically August 15th with archery, and deer's usually September 1st. So deer's kind of interesting. There's general units for deer as well. And for a resident, it's over the counter. So what they do for non-residents on a general tag is they group units that are close to each other into what they call regions. And as a non-resident, you draw a regional tag, and you can hunt all of the general units within that region. Some of those regions will have limited entry or limited quota tags that are within the geographic boundaries of that region, but you can't hunt those. You can only hunt the general units. And if you check for the next video that I'm going to put up, we'll go in and we'll look at the season information on the Wyoming Game and Fish website, and you can see what's general and what's limited quota. So hopefully that helps. So for example, I live in region G here on the western side of the state. G comprises of 4 units. They don't all open on the same day. This year they will close on the same day, but in the past they haven't. And so you can hunt all 4 of those units during the seasons that they're open, and according to the limitations that have been put in place. So this year we're going to have special regulations in regions G and H that where they're introducing a 3-point or better antler point restriction for mule deer. You can still harvest any whitetail. That's something to remember. All the limited quota units you're going to put in for them individually. So for example, like a very popular max point unit down in the desert area 102, that's going to be one that max point holders only are going to look at. But if you draw that unit, you're confined to hunt in Area 102 during the season dates, and with all limitations applied. So antelope's a little bit different because there is no general tag for antelope. Every unit in the state is limited quota. One thing they're going to do this year they used to do, years ago, and kind of deviated from, is they're going to do a leftover drawing. So the way that it's worked in the past is if there's leftover tags, you've been able to purchase them either online or through a licensed selling agent in the state. This year they will have, instead of putting them out over the counter for anybody to buy, they're going to put them into another draw called the leftover drawing, where you can apply again and sort of have a second chance at pulling some of those tags out. After the leftover drawing, then whatever's left will go through over the counter through licensed selling agents and online on the Game and Fish website. Navigating Wyoming's information can be a little bit overwhelming if you're not used to it. So I think the other big things to talk about is type. So I mentioned that earlier, like a Type 9 is an archery only license. So what you'll see in your limited quota licenses, general licenses don't have a type, but your limited quota ones do. So your Type 1 license is going to be kind of what most of you are going to want. It's usually your antlered animal or any animal, the entire unit's open. It's kind of just like the standard limited quota license. If and not every unit has more than one type. Some of them will have just one. Some of them will have two. Some will have 3 or 4. Type 2 license, there's going to be a limitation. Usually it's either a different season or it's just part of the unit is open to hunt on that type of license. There's Type 3s that are typically additional, like whitetail only tags. Type 4s are an additional. I don't know if they do Type 4 in antelope and deer. A Type 6 is going to be a reduced priced cow-calf or doe fawn, and a Type 7 is kind of like what a Type 2 is to a Type 1, is what a Type 7 to a Type 6. So it's usually a reduced priced cow-calf or a doe fawn, but in a subset or some other sort of limitation to that tag that differs from the Type 6, like part of a unit is typically what we see in a Type 7. And so you can have additional reduced price tags, and so that's a different drawing you can put in for the reduced price ones, and that's open right now too until the end of May. Guys, if you're getting a little overwhelmed with Wyoming and don't know what to do, there are a lot of options. Jump into this next video that I put out, and I'll put a link in the description where you can go over and we'll actually jump into the PDFs, and I can show you how to navigate those a little bit on the computer and figure out what you're putting in for. Remember that 75% of the tags go to the people with the top points. So that's what they call a preference point system. 25% go at random. So what we see happen is essentially 4 draws happen for non-residents, where you've got 2 that are in the regular drawing, 2 are in the special. So you got a preference point draw, and then if you don't draw in the preference point draw, you go into the random drawing, and you're going to have another chance to draw in that. So that's something to look at. In some cases you have pretty good odds in the random to draw things in for a lot of general tags. Some of like your general deer tags and things like that you can pick up over the counter. One thing to watch out for in Wyoming this year, we had a significant winter kill here on the west side of the state for mule deer and for antelope. So we will see a reduction in tags on the west side of the state. On the east side of the state, we're seeing increases in populations of antelope and deer in most parts of the state on the eastern side, so on the other side of the Continental Divide. And so there's going to be some more opportunities there, especially for like antelope around the Casper region, Laramie region. There's a significant increase in tags this year. So western side of the state might be a little bit harder to come up with tags. Keep that in mind, like regions G and H, which are popular general regions for non-residents. We're seeing a 200 tag reduction in both of those. So if you want to look at your draw odds, what I did was I jumped back to 2010 when they cut them 200 before, and you can kind of look at what happened 2010 to 2011 and see what happened with the point fluctuation, how far it shifted, and we'll probably see something similar to that this year, which doesn't seem like it's very significant, maybe a 0.5 to 1 point jump. We'll jump in and look at that once again in the other video that I'll publish. And we'll look specifically, I think we look at Region G, and just sort of how to read the draw odds, how to look at how to apply quotas, different things like that. So guys, good luck in the draw this year. I hope you guys are picking up some tags and looking forward to having a good fall. And good luck in Wyoming. We've got Idaho coming up and Arizona for deer and sheep. So get yourselves into those states, start building points, and good luck in the draws this year. Thanks, guys.